Hello everyone, welcome to another video for today. Today I'm going to go a little bit negative here, but I think is very important to have a look at these topics and discuss them and open a conversation up. And today I'd like to go through the top 5 things that will ruin music. And this is a list of my bugbears or my annoyances, and I'm sure that some of you will agree and or disagree with some of these and not others, and you're welcome to put your comments in regards to those as well, because again, it's just like an open conversation. This is, and it is quite reflective of what's going on now in the music industry and in society at large, I think. With the number 5, the fifth most prominent thing that should stop, and these are the things that will ruin music, but primarily live music, is smartphone recording at a concert. Okay. Now, I have been guilty of this in the past, and what I am now going to do in front of the whole world, the worldwide audience, is hand to heart. I'm going to stop doing this because it only seems logical that if I get annoyed at it, why would I do it myself? I am 5 foot nothing, pretty much. I'm a shortish kind of guy, and I have the obstacles of attending live events where there are people that are taller than me, and I don't actually, mind that really too much. Taller people are always quite considerate and will stand behind, and offer to stand behind, or you to go in front of them. That's usually really good. But again, I'm not going to be mozzing on anybody just based primarily on their biology and how they were made, because that's how they were made. Everybody's different. But one thing that does annoy me that happens at live gigs is smartphones coming up and obscuring the view of the audience. So I can then watch via somebody's smartphone screen the live appearance that's happening in front of me. Okay, now let's just face it. Okay, let's be real honest with ourselves about this. Okay, and I'm going to be as well. Okay, because I am a former live recording smartphone recorder guy. Well, how often have I gone back to look at these videos or Snapchat moments or Facebook stories of concerts? The answer is I've never gone back and looked at them. I've never gone back. I saw a compact camera that I had in a box from years and years ago when I went to see Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, and it was a Kodak snap and shoot, and it took videos, and it took, I don't know what it was. It took like 480p footage. That was the first time in 15 years that I had seen that. I looked at it, I was like, oh, cool, that's cool. And then I put it back in the box. I didn't try and put it onto my hard drive or rip it to make some content. I never looked at it. The other thing is, the argument against this will be, oh, well, so you have memories so you can remember the concert. What? No, just remember it. Just be there. Just be present in the moment. It's the same as people talking in the cinemas. Absolutely hate it. And it's going to kill, it'll kill live music if it continues, and artists are already putting their foot down, which is good. That's a good thing as well. The recent Kate LeBon concert that I went to did have please no phones recording or photography. Great. People broke that rule, but there wasn't many that were. Most of the people were quite good. So that's number 5. Number 4 has been something that the media have done, and it is this trendy thing that they are doing where an act will go viral or start to become very popular commercially and critically, one or the other, and then some writer from a publication, which is usually an e-zine of some sort, will then call them or call into question their authenticity by either calling them an industry plant or a psyop. And this has recently happened with Benson Boone. People saying that he's an industry plant. He was put there. If you're a pop artist, I can kind of understand industry. I can kind of get it. But on the other hand, the psyop thing, I don't understand, because in my view, it is good marketing for an act to be all over TikTok and whatever the socials are. That is the new way of marketing your music. If you get your track on a viral TikTok that's had 15 million views, that's great advertising for your band. That's great. It's not a psyop. What a psyop is a thing that has been implemented to change behavior patterns and things like that. This is more coming from a tactical thing and psychological thing that's used in warfare, okay, over the history of time. Indoctrinating people into different beliefs and different ways of thinking, okay? But the marketing does that, advertising does that as well. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. I don't think that that's a bad thing that you advertised your music or had your music on some sort of social media platform. That's just how it's done now. It used to be that the labels were gatekeeping these things, and they were the ones that were bankrolling the artists. So therefore, they were planting the seeds and pushing these artists to the fore. And that's marketing. That's what that is. It is still a product at the end of the day. And especially when people bought more music, that is what they were doing, and I do not consider that a psyop. The industry plant thing is also a redundant thing. It doesn't, an industry plant, what does that even mean? Well, it's there so that they can make money. Okay, cool. Well, music is a business. It can be a business and also an art form at the same time. So that's enough about that. Number 3 is going to affect, and it already has, okay, blue dot syndrome or blue dot fever or whatever they want to call it now, is this epidemic of high profile events that have been booked for major arena audiences that have hundreds and thousands of unbought tickets, okay? And the reason why this is happening, I believe, or one of the reasons why it's happening is, yes, economic downturn and all those things, costs of living, but dynamic pricing is one of the major culprits of this, okay? Live Nation have a lot to answer for, because this is one of the things that they've driven, okay? Artists have the luxury of saying, even if it may or may not be true, they have the luxury of saying after the fact, I had no idea about the dynamic pricing in tickets. Let's fix that for the fans. Okay, now, just don't be naive about this. Some of them are aware of it and some aren't. But the artist is always going to get the luxury of saying that and making Live Nation the bad guy, which they don't care about being the bad guy, because they basically are. But this idea of the dynamic pricing, where the price changes live depending on, the demand of ticket prices, is just something that I just don't even think should be legal, in my view. I understand tiered pricing. I understand seat locations. I understand premium seating and budget seating. I understand all of that. I understand why that exists. But dynamic ticket pricing should not exist, in my view. I think it is a scam. Now, the next two are very specific to the future and advancement of music as an art form. Okay. The number two, I'm going to be talking about educational institutions. This is the second worst thing that will ruin music. Okay. Now, you can go to Berklee or Juilliard or these prestigious schools or conservatory, and you can do a degree in a genre of music. And recently there's been a lot of talk about different things, like you can go to school and you'll learn lots of like really good things and you can become a better musician. That is not necessarily the case, because especially the genre ones, for example, the jazz degree. Okay, now what the jazz degree, from what I've read and I've spoken to people who have gone to Berklee, and this is specifically about Berklee, but it could be applied to any of them, is that when they are doing their units, and a unit is, say, jazz history, right, they are only talking about a small part of jazz. It is being funneled through a very narrow point of view, which is being, it's been gatekept for these people, because jazz is not anymore seen as an evolving, living, breathing genre. It is seen as an art form and a museum piece, something that should be protected. Andy Edwards has talked about this several times, so I'm not going to retread what he's saying, but basically, if you want to learn music, get good tutors, read as much as you can about jazz, classical, rock, folk, chamber music, funk, Latin music, Eastern European music, whatever it is. I think that music degrees aren't worth the paper that they're printed on. That's just my view. I'm just some guy, but I think that the educational institutions are boxing people in with a certain curriculum that does not expand that person's knowledge on the genre enough. The jazz doesn't talk about all these things coming in. It doesn't talk about the hip-hop influence. It doesn't talk about, all this other stuff, the prog rock influence. It doesn't talk about that. When you do one on classical, it doesn't teach you about stuff before the composers. It doesn't teach you about pagan music. They're only going to teach you about a certain amount of things. Classical music, they're going to teach you about Brahms, Beethoven, Mozart. They might touch, as a side note, they might touch on Stockhausen or Varese, or the classical model, John Cage, Philip Glass. That they might touch on these people, but it's most of the thing is through the same 4 or 5 figures in music, and it boxes people in to that. And I think that does not do anything to progress any music genre forward. And the big one, which is the topic of the day, but this is the number one thing that will ruin music, and that is AI-generated music. Apps that use AI generation to create music. Why is this a problem? Well, it's a problem because it takes away a human part of music and a human part of creation. It reduces creation to prompts. And what happens is, although people think that it will democratize the way that people make music, what it will do is it will actually just reduce its importance on humans. You know, it will be uninspired. It will be a dying art form if we lead it to this place. The idea that you can pick up an instrument and learn it and play the same thing a million times until you've achieved that, you then go on, you learn the next part of the track, you learn the harmony and the melody, you learn the root note of the song, you understand about triads within major scales of the root note of the song. You're learning all this sort of music theory and things, and there is a wholesomeness to that we're going to lose if we continue to make AI-generated content, specifically music in this case, but for anything really. The fact that there have been multiple accounts of AI-generated bands which people are, listening to and don't know the difference between AI or an organic band is actually frightening. And I implore anybody that if they come across anything like this on their streaming services or whatever it might be, I would like these people to push, contact administrators, contact the app people, and push and just annoy them as much as possible. Squeaky gate gets the oil, just to implore them to start having AI generated stuff on the banners of these things when they come up on the streaming apps, like that it is specifically labeled AI, just so that we can then just completely scrub it, completely eradicate it. That sounds very naive, I understand, but I think for the sake of our own souls, I think we need to try and eliminate it from becoming the prominent way in which to make music. The people at Suno are ridiculously they're not compassionate to creators at all, and what creators go through, and how creators make music, and how creativity functions as a way for them to express themselves and to also deal with mental health issues, which is a very important thing. The fact that anybody can make it, okay, I can understand that in a sense, that anybody can make AI generated music by putting in prompts, but I don't think this is the way. This is a way to do it, but this is not the way, because we're going to end up not knowing what's real and what's not. And what is going to happen is, with any huge societal change, there is an opposition to it. So there will be an anti-AI movement that will happen amongst artists. It's going to happen with music. It's going to happen with literature, movies. It's going to happen with art. We did like digital, we have lots of AI generated art. It's going to happen with all these things. And humankind has to actually take back this. It cannot be put in the hands of AI, in my view. That's going to be one of the worst things that's going to happen to music. Using it as a tool. Some people say, "Oh, use bits and pieces of it as a tool." I just think it's the same thing. It's the same thing as the smartphones. Okay, I'm just going to have my phone. I'm going to not even have my phone out. You have to draw a line in the sand with this. You can't just say, "Oh, well, just when my favorite song comes on, I'm going to put 5 seconds." There has to be a line drawn in the sand. And that's the same with this. The same with AI. If you unknowingly have used a part of AI, that's fine. I can completely understand that it might be built into something and you've not realized it, but let's do the best we can with this, because this will be the end of an art form, because it'll be seen as a joke. Nobody will be able to tell the difference. It'll be the boy that cried wolf. And there will be genuinely talented people out there creating content, but people will think that it's actually AI, because the percentage of AI content that has come out has outnumbered the actual proper content, genuine content that humans have put blood, sweat, and tears into. So that's the end of the rant. Thanks very much. If you've got to the end, let me know what you think, because I think it's really important that people know about these kind of things and have a conversation about it, whether they agree or disagree with me or not. I'd like to know what you think. I'm going to sign off now. Thanks for watching.